Hello. This is a Miroku Japan-made Browning semi-auto 22 that I was fortunate enough to purchase for a very, very reasonable price. The price came with some conditions that the rifle was having some issues that needed to be addressed. I accepted the challenge, took the rifle on. This was my first experience actually working with a Browning semi-auto 22. I'd never really done anything with them before. So the first thing getting into the rifle that I did was to take it out and shoot it. The guy that had it told me that it just wouldn't group very well, and I took it out and shoot it. One of the first things I noticed on the barrel was that the sight was misaligned, knocked way off. So I recentered it, tried shooting. Gun was shooting way to the left. Adjusted the sight over to where he had it. It was still shooting a bit to the left. Started drifting the front sight over. Finally got the gun to fairly center. But what that told me was the issue with the gun not grouping well is the factory barrel actually came out with the bore not concentric with the barrel external, and that was causing it to run out of course it was out of center, so it was not shooting to a center point of aim. And that had to be addressed, and the only way to address that was to purchase a new barrel, which I did receive. It took me quite a few months to actually get one. They were out of stock. It was rather a bit of a challenge to get one. And I'll talk about this work in my next video. On this particular one, I want to deal with the receiver side of it. One of the things that the rifle had was the buttstock was extremely beat up on this gun. I mean, really beat up. There was a chip out of the toe down here. There was a chip out of the toe of the grip. There was a chip out of the toe of the buttstock on the bottom. It was just battered and bashed. It had this sling swivel stud installed. There wasn't one on the barrel itself. I asked about it. The guy told me he just used a piece of cord that he ran through there, tied it down here, and then tied it onto the barrel to carry it. And he was in the habit of carrying the gun on his shoulder with the buttstock up in the air. And apparently while he was doing that, he managed to impact every single item he could find wherever he was going. Trees, outcroppings of rocks, buildings, whatever it was he managed to hit. He managed to hit it with this buttstock. So it was battered, badly battered. It also came with that Browning high gloss finish. This particular rifle was made in 1986, and it looked horrible. It needed to be refinished. It had another little issue with a chip down here, and I found out that this is caused by people when they go to take these apart. They grab them back here by the stock and then try twisting the barrel apart when they're super tight, and what happens is that puts too much force down here, breaks it off. So that was a problem that we had here. And so I took the buttstock off, and in doing so I have an old set of takedown instructions, and these are quite different from the actual rifle I had. They've made some improvements with the Japanese version over the Belgian version, made some changes in the way things are attached. In this one, in the diagram, you can see that the buttstock was installed with a screw or a bolt, ran up through the pistol grip, attached to the bottom of the receiver. And that's how the older ones were attached. The older ones were also glued on the top for a scope mount. These newer Japanese ones are not. They have threaded and tapped holes here for a barrel mount that Browning offers exclusively. There's a couple outsourcers producing them now as well. The sights are different. This used a wheel type sight. The dovetail's mounted forward on the barrel, which allows you a little better option on changing sights. This one you're pretty much limited to a folding leaf sight. Okay, I can deal with that. Back to this buttstock. These things are attached with a slotted nut that screws directly onto the inner or outer magazine tube, directly onto the tube from the buttstock end. And to get these off, I've seen recommendations where people say take a hammer and a punch and wail away on this until it starts to loosen up. I didn't like that idea because taking a punch to this means you can distort this area down here in the hole, and that causes your magazine tube to either not want to go in at all or hang up going in and out. So I didn't like that idea. I'd seen somewhere where someone suggested grinding a socket down, and you can do that. A 19 millimeter or a 3/4 inch outside diameter socket can be ground, cut off to make 2 slot lugs on the socket itself that will fit this, and that will work. Fortunately, I didn't have a socket that I could sacrifice for that practice, so I got to digging around my stuff and thinking what might work. And my solution to the problem was this. This is an FNFAL buttstock removal tool, another Fabrique Nationale product, and this thing fits exactly and perfectly with this knot arrangement, as well as it does with the FNFAL. So my suggestion is, if you ever go to take a buttstock off of one of these, this is the tool you need to try and find. There are 2 versions of it out there. This is an earlier version where the put that down. This guide rod, and this is necessary for the FFL or the FNFAL to compress the recoil springs that are inside that buttstock assembly and keep control of them when you go ahead and back that nut off. The Semi-Auto 22, of course, doesn't have a spring inside. It doesn't need this, but the fact is it fits perfectly, so there's no reason to remove it. Later versions of this actually allow this rod to thread off. This one's been soldered onto here. It's permanently attached. But later versions allow this rod to be turned off. And then this can also work to take the pistol grip nut off of the FNFAL guns. So that makes it a little more useful. And if you happen to come across one of the later ones, you don't really need this rod on here, so you can take it off. And again, it works perfectly for removing that buttstock nut. Other than that, I didn't see any major issues. It's kind of a testament to the simplicity of John Browning's designs. There's no real difference between a Japanese made and a Belgian made, and really there's no difference between an early and late made as far as the internals of the gun go. I'm not going to show a field strip on this because there are several videos out on YouTube now that give real excellent advice on field stripping them. Go ahead and watch them, and you'll be an expert at taking these things apart in no time at all. They really are that simple, so that doesn't really need to be covered. I just wanted to give that little point out, that's the best and easiest way I found if you wanting to remove a buttstock from one of these guns, be it to refinish it, replace it, or what have you. Find yourself one of those FAL tools. And on my next video, I want to talk about the barrels. There are several differences between the barrels. I covered a little bit of it from the early Belgian to these later Japanese barrels. And in my next video, I'll cover that. Thanks for watching.